Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Well, good evening to one and all across the United States and also around the world. It is time once again for another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and always exciting edition of the Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. I am Pastor Michael Mangus, once again broadcasting from the secret radio room surrounded by thousands, and I mean thousands of watts, in a secure concrete bunker somewhere around Akron, Ohio. That is so top secret. It requires a high level of security to get into the compound. And even Reverend Robert Brzezinski has no clue where my super secret secure broadcast facility is located. Well, good evening to everyone. We have a great show for you tonight. Please feel free to interact by posting your comments on Facebook. And also, again, for all you shy people out there, please feel free to contact me by email. That's pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. So our purpose of the Fireside Chat is always to talk about contemporary issues from a New Thought perspective. And again, as I keep saying over and over again, I want us all to have a new thought about what is going on around us, not only here in the U.S., but also in the world. And again, you don't have to agree with me. Diego plays the disclaimer weekly, professionally produced by my good friend Jay Silvers. And we do that mostly because of the humor value. But there is a serious part about that. They are my viewpoints and opinions. They're not anyone else's. I want us all to start really deeply thinking about what is going on in the world and to ask this question: what is my role in bringing about a world that works for everyone? We all have a role to play in that, or we wouldn't be here at this time. Tonight's special guest, waiting in the green room, probably eating dinner, is no stranger to our regular audience. We are pleased to welcome the Chief Inspirational Officer of the New Thought Media Network. And I know he cringes every time I say this, but my boss, the Reverend Robert Brzezinski, who will speak on what happened last week on the Science of Mind and Religious Science, a Deeper Conversation Facebook page. It's a conversation I think that we need to have, plus also other topics. The shift hit the fan last week. And Reverend Briz made a video to talk about the deeper conversation being had there. So Reverend Robert Brzezinski, our special guest, in around 25, 30 minutes. I hope everyone's having a safe and fun weekend here. Today starts the Memorial Day weekend and the unofficial start of summer. Today also started the unofficial start of wedding season here in the Midwest. That's why I'm looking like a priest this evening. Most couples around here, they get married during the months of late May to end of October. Because we don't have any snow during that time. And I performed the first of 2 ceremonies this weekend, and I have still 2 more weeks of Holmes Institute with finals due a week from Monday. Now, okay, this is between you and I here, okay? Don't tell Reverend Robert that I'm soon going to be out of school, because I know that he will be on the email saying, giving me more projects to do for New Thought Media Network. So this is going to be our little secret. Don't tell him. All right? All right. Reverend Robert Brzezinski in around 20, 25 minutes. I have been scrambled. Hello.
There it is. You know that I know exactly where the bunker is. You know that I know exactly how many papers you have left to write.
Yes.
And you know that I know that your to-do list continues to grow longer and longer.
You're not supposed to be on for 25 minutes. You're supposed to be eating something.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll go back to dinner.
Okay. He has the power. He can break in at any time. You never know. Well, we start our news this evening, unfortunately, with another mass shooting, this time in San Jose. Here's what we know about the San Jose shooting from CNN as of this afternoon. Investigators are trying to determine what led a gunman to open fire Wednesday at his workplace, which is a public transit rail yard in San Jose, California, killing 9 people before killing himself. 8 miles away, the authorities are looking into the gunman's home, which officials say that he set on fire before he went to commit the crime. Isn't that interesting? So this is what we know as of right now. Authorities received a 911 call at 6:34 a.m. Pacific time Wednesday about the gunfire at the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority, VTA rail yard. A Santa Clara County Sheriff Lori Smith said to reporters. The gunman was VTA employee Sam Cassidy, who shot colleagues in 2 buildings around the time of a morning shift change before taking his own life in front of responding law enforcement officers, authorities have said. He fired 39 rounds. And he was also discovered to have several other magazines, cartridges loaded to be used during his shooting. The VTA is the public transit system that operates the bus and light rail service in the Santa Clara Valley. It employs around 2,000 workers. The rail yard is where the VTA vehicles are maintained and dispatched. Security camera footage shows Cassidy arriving at the facility around 5:30 a.m. on Wednesday, about a half hour before the shooting began. The gunman took his own life in front of deputies, Smith told CNN. She believed the law enforcement officer's quick response saved many lives. Probably did. The deputies did not exchange gunfire with the shooter. The handguns that Cassidy used were legally obtained and registered. The shooter had 3 handguns and 11 magazines that were found on his belt. 11. Additional magazines which hold more than 10 rounds and are illegal to possess in California were also found on the crime scene. In 2016, when returning from a trip to the Philippines, Cassidy was found with a memo book filled with notes of hatred towards the VTA after U.S. Customs Border Patrol officers searched his bag. A Department of Homeland Security official told CNN. Officers also found books about terrorism and fear and manifestos, the officer said. So my question is this: why wasn't he put on a watch list then, bringing that into the country? Cassidy has been a highly disgruntled VTA employee for many years and may have contributed why he targeted VTA employees. So how many mass shootings has there been in 2021? Before we came on the air here, Reverend Robert told me of one more in Durham, North Carolina. The mass shootings this year follow a lull in mass killings during the pandemic in 2020, according to a database compiled by the Associated Press, USA Today, and Northeastern University. That database tracks mass killings defined as 4 or more dead, not including the shooter. The FBI says that a mass shooting is any incident that involves multiple victims of gun violence, and it describes victims as both people who are killed and those who are injured by gunfire. 3 people must have been injured or killed for the incident to qualify as a mass shooting. You might remember some of the high-profile shootings that we've seen across the country this year, including those at a nail salon in Atlanta, Georgia, and at a grocery store in Boulder, Colorado. And so far in 2021, we've already seen 233 mass shootings, including the incident in San Jose on Wednesday. According to the Gun Violence Archive, there was 417 mass shootings in 2019. The total number of people killed in America because of gun violence that year was close to 40,000. In 2020, there were 610 mass shootings across the nation, and roughly 43,000 people died because of gun violence in 2020. In California, 27 people have been killed as a result of 18 mass shootings in 2021. Of those 18 shootings, 6 resulted in no deaths. The shooting on Wednesday in San Jose resulted in the most deaths with 9, including the shooter. So my question this evening to you is this: when is enough going to be enough? When are we as a country going to demand, not ask, demand of our politicians to pass some common sense gun regulations? Now, the shooter in this case did have a history and warning signs. So the other part of this is a change of consciousness. Yes, I know people kill people. However, how many guns do we need here in the United States? Maybe, just maybe, if individuals did not have easy access to buying weapons, maybe we would have less gun deaths. Other Western countries do not have many mass shootings. And why is that? Well, it's because you go through not days, but you go through weeks and even months of a background check, plus you go under training, specific training for your weapon. Again, one of those things that we can teach at our New Thought centers is classes in nonviolent communication and also de-escalation. So is the answer to life's problems to kill those who hurt you in the past? My question to the shooter is, if you really did not like your job, why didn't you get another one? Just because someone makes you angry or gets upset with you, your anger does not give you the right to go out, pick up a gun, and seek revenge. As someone who has survived bullying and also parental abuse, I've had to learn over the years to forgive and remember that I am a tougher, stronger, and also a bigger person. Taking up a gun and killing is an easy task. What is difficult is to forgive those who have hurt you and then move on with your life. What about all the families of the victims? See, they are not counted on the news, in the statistics. Somehow or another, they need to be part of that count. Their lives are altered forever. The 9 families, even the shooter's family, is altered forever because of the decision made by one person to go into his employer and shoot all the people that he was ticked at. We need to continue to know peace in our country and in our world, and also act by supporting our elected officials in enacting sensible gun legislation. And again, it's the time for asking is over. Now it's time to demand. How many more people have to die? Well, on that cheery note, hello there, good evening. This is a Friday evening Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. Pastor Michael Mangus with you as we are going through the news of the day. June 1st is the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And this is from CNN. It says, on the morning of May 31st, 1921, the Greenwood district of Tulsa, Oklahoma was a thriving Black community. But by noon on June 1st, it wasn't. Over the course of roughly 24 hours, a white mob set off by a dubious accusation by members of the Tulsa County Sheriff's Department and the Oklahoma National Guard obliterated the uniquely prosperous area beloved as Black Wall Street. As many as 300 people were killed, according to the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum, and thousands were left homeless. One century on, as the U.S. engages in a fresh reckoning with its long history of racist violence, it makes sense to ask, what is the state of the country's collective memory of the events of 1921? And how does economic justice fit into that conversation? Since George Floyd's murder last May, Black Americans across the country, including Tulsa, have been demanding that the U.S. confront past instances of racial violence that have been buried or forgotten. And yet, even at moments of heightened awareness to race, and even as depictions of the massacre figures prominently in recent pieces of pulp culture, including HBO's Watchmen and also Lovecraft County, the spokesperson says there needs to be an ongoing need to nurture the country's awareness of the attack. She said there is more knowledge, but I don't think that saying the Tulsa Race Massacre sparks knowledge in the way that saying the Watts riot does. She says, referring to the 1965 uprising that seized and shook LA for several days. My work and the work of many other people is about elevating a suppressed history and reclaiming the Greenwood heroes who were discarded. I'll just read a little bit more here. It says, to understand the massacre fully, you have to understand its attendant trauma. Before the turn of the 21st century, there was a culture of silence in Tulsa. There are many different ways to respond to historical trauma. A culture of silence is one of them, said an assistant professor of anthropology at the University of Tulsa. And for some, but not all, Black people in the city, that silence stemmed from the fact that there was never any justice or accountability for what happened. For a long time, there was a lingering fear that an attack could happen again and at any moment, because no one ever answered for the killing and looting and arson and bombing. You see, this is the reason why keeping silent anymore is not an option. We need to address all the issues of racism, including economic, education, and also all the brutality that has happened over several hundreds of years. And the reason that many New Thought ministers and practitioners are now calling for change is not to put more power into the conditions, because that's the excuse that some ministers use. Well, we don't want to talk about that. That's putting more negative cause into the race consciousness. It is for all of us to stand up and speak out for love and justice and compassion for everyone, especially for the communities of color. This world will not change on a massive scale unless enough people of consciousness speak up and speak out about this. It was the communities of faith that supported the Underground Railroad. It was Emma Curtis Hopkins who spoke up and championed the rights of women. It was Wallace Wattles, the author of The Science of Getting Rich, who championed workers' rights and also ran for public office. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson, who was also a staunch abolitionist. It is in our New Thought history not only to teach and apply our principles, it is also in our history to speak up for social justice. And those of you who do not believe that, go read your history books again. It's there. It's always been there. The world needs for all of us to speak up and speak out and demand change so that we really, truly do have a world that works for everyone. Well, hi there. If you wonder what you stumbled onto this evening, it is the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network. I am Pastor Michael Mangus. In just a few moments, we will have the Chief Inspirational Officer. And once again, he cringes every time I say this. My boss. Here at the New Thought Media Network, the Reverend Robert Brzezinski. He'll be up here in just a few more moments. As we start the Memorial Day weekend, COVID-19 is still with us. Total number of cases, 33,041,551. Cases in the past 7 days is 146,174. Total number of deaths, 590,212. The percentage of adults vaccinated with one dose now is 62.2%. Now listen to this. The percentage of 65 years plus population fully vaccinated is 74.5%, 75%. Now, to all of my hesitant viewers and listeners who have not received their vaccine, let me ask you a question. What is driving down the cases and the death count? I'll wait. What do you think? Could it be that people are getting vaccinated? I'm not going to tell you to get vaccinated. That's not my job. I just know, though, that individuals who have not received their shots are doing it out of fear or non-accurate information. Facebook is not a very good resource for COVID-19 information. The science has been right all along during the pandemic. I've had individuals write in their blogs and on Facebook that I, of all people, did not follow the science, which is not true. I've always followed the science since last March when all of this started to happen. I'm encouraging everyone to go get stuck, unless advised by your doctor. By you receiving your shot, you help stop the disease so that we can get back to things that you truly love to do. All right, I'll stop there. We have a few announcements before we go to break. Yours truly is parking himself now at Summit CSL. For more information, go to summitcsl.org. There, and only there, you will find information about our wonderful Sunday online gatherings at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. We are talking about getting back together again in person. So grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso, your chai, and please join us. I really do believe that we have one of the best services in New Thought. So this Sunday, we will continue our series on the spiritual quality of beauty with a discussion led by spiritual director, practitioner Diana Mangus. So go on summitcsl.org for more information on how to join our Zoom call. Our service is also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page. And our Facebook page also has past broadcasts of the world famous and ever popular Friday evening Fireside Chats. And also yours truly when he's doing prayer on the New Thought Media Network. The one last thing I wanted to mention here is you can help us. And you can help us by sharing the Fireside Chat and also other media that you find helpful or inspiring here on the New Thought Media Network to your Facebook page and also to other spiritual New Thought groups that you are involved in. So for more information on how to do that, please feel free to contact me. I'm currently open for individual practitioner sessions, also Sunday speaking and ceremonies, of which I'm doing a bunch of weddings this coming summer. What a bunch of fun. So email me at pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com for more information. If I were to start reading the schedule for New Thought Media Network right now, we'd be here probably until midnight. There it is. All kinds of programming during our week here. Our entire schedule is up on our website, ntmedia.org. Please check it out. Lots of good things happening, including Spirit Says Sing, which is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on the New Thought Media Network. We have a great time there. And we're also asking for your support. We have a lot of things that are planned for our network because this is not just about us. This is about reaching the world with this powerful message. And you can be a part of that too through your loving giving. So go to ntmedia.org/donate. There you will have all kinds of information. We are treating for monthly donors, people who will give on a monthly basis to this wonderful gathering of souls that have dedicated their lives to teaching this powerful message. So once again, ntmedia.org/donate. Thank you very much. We're going to take a break right now, and you're watching the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on the New Thought Media Network.
Check it out. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, noon Eastern. A healthy dose of Jersey Girl wisdom. Live with Rev Jersey Girl. Sponsored by New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to the Black Collection. All designs and prints are acronyms and principles R.Sc.P teaches clients and students for personal transformation and spiritual growth. 10% of the profits from the Black Collection go to Justice LA Now. Justice LA Now is working to reduce the footprint of incarceration in Los Angeles County and reinvest county dollars into alternatives to incarceration. Justice LA Now. Find your designs at shoprevskip.com.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
Here on the New Thought Media Network, it is my pleasure to introduce to you my special guest this evening. Again, the Chief Inspirational Officer, Chief Fundraiser, and he does a bunch of other things too. I think he's even involved in technical. But my wonderful friend and supervising minister, the Reverend Robert Brzezinski. Hello, Robert. Welcome this evening. Can't hear you.
Not sure why that didn't. Hi, now I'm here. I'm sitting in the green room going, do not call me your boss. Do not call me your boss.
All right. That's fine.
It's good to be with you tonight.
Thank you. So your comments on the news, you said that you were interested in talking about the gun violence. So what's your thinking around what's been happening with these mass shootings?
I realized earlier today, I came to a place where I there's so many intersections happening here. Intersectionality is the word of the decade. And there's so many intersections that's happening in this one story alone that it's tough to get a grasp upon sometimes. And in most stories these days, there are so many things that are happening that we have to look at a more holistic perspective. So I want to give everybody just a little bit of an example. I heard about this story early yesterday morning in a breaking news shooting in San Jose. Okay, let's and actually did a quick message to our prayer team that said, who's ever on prayers this morning, this is happening. Please add San Jose to your prayers. And we move forward and we do our work in consciousness. And then we have to be able to sit back and listen a little bit and wait for truth to reveal itself. So I thought, hey, it all kind of came at once that we have these intersections. What do we do at intersections? We slow down.
Yeah.
We look around. If you're like the person I was following this afternoon when I was going to pick my son up from a massage, you slow down for a green light. But that's okay, right? I believe as a culture, are being called to slow down a little bit on some of these intersections and to look around and say, wait a minute, what's going on? And you hit on so many of the key points in your commentary earlier. This man, 57 years old, should be in the prime of his life. I believe that is the point where, right, you're at, yeehaw, I'm facing, whether you followed the traditional track of I'm getting ready for retirement and my pension is growing and I'm getting there, or whether you're more of that out there kind of artistic type that's like, okay, one way or the other, at 57, that's not a point in life where I believe we ought to be contemplating mass killing. And you're right. There were warning signs. There were opportunities for intervention. Now, my belief is far too often we're far too willing to look the other way. Not my problem. Yeah, he's got a book full of fear-based material. He's got connections. This guy, he's not a bad guy. But he's at a point. He's at a precipice. He doesn't know what to think. He doesn't know where to turn for support, for help. That's where I think we felt that nobody wants to be compassionate for the shooter.
I understand. I think that we need to show that compassion. No, it wasn't the family to blame.
Right.
It was the shooter's own choice or volition that made him do it.
Right. So, excuse me. Technically, there's some things going on here tonight. And this country, I'll be straight up, isn't ready to have a conversation about guns. We are obviously not ready to have a conversation about gun a gun registration, gun insurance, gun anything. And there are plenty of solutions. The first one that jumped to mind as I was listening to your commentary is hunting. Okay, cool. If you need to hunt for sustenance, if you need to hunt to keep your family fed, that's not going to be a tough thing to prove. Register your gun, insure your gun, and get in line and sign up for a sustenance license. And then you have access to a gun or two, or maybe a few, and you have access to enough ammunition to be the worst shot in the world and still hit a broadside of a barn and take home what you need. If you're a hunter for sport and you don't need it to feed yourself, okay, we can institute a series of policies, do the same kind of thing, and at the end of the day, you donate the meat to the local food bank, or you donate it to a processor who takes care of it, puts it all together, gets it into a food bank's hands. There are solutions to this. We are, as a culture, we are addicted to, I've got my gun and I'm going to make my, and you're going to shut up in front of my opinion if I have a gun. Texas is contemplating the ability to walk around with an open carry weapon with no registration, with no background check, with no other than I got good green cash.
Well, I thought that the Wild Wild West ended a long time ago. Why do people need to go around who are not law enforcement officers with an open carry? Why?
I am. Yeah. It's a very interesting question, Pastor Michael. And I shared this in, I think this morning on, I lose track of how many shows I'm on. I think it might've been this morning on Ministers Talking Shit that I saw a video from right here in Colorado at an intersection up in the mountains, one that I know very well, where what I am sure is somebody's, I know how that intersection is. You're heading west on I-70, you're going up a hill, and there's a right-hand exit that's got 2 lanes, and it's got a big sweep over and a big flyover the highway. And I am sure somebody just made a mistake and wasn't in the right lane or needed to get over at the last minute. We're a culture that's a little bit too much in a hurry. Again, we need to slow down. And the video shows a gentleman in a pickup truck, and he has unholstered his weapon and he is pointing it out the window, and it is between his window and his rearview mirror, and he is pointing it at a car that he has had some disagreement about. Now, I know I can get upset with drivers that don't exactly adhere to my interpretation of the rules of the road. It's never enough to get out a gun. And regardless of my interpretation, what I also know is there's no way that person could hear me. There's no way they could know that I'm upset with them. There's no way they understand what's happening in that moment. I've had people pull up next to me and flip me off and scream at me and throw things at me in traffic. And I'm like, what did I do? I'm sorry. I really, if I did something, I'm sorry. I didn't really mean to cut you off. I don't know what I did. I did something wrong. The answer to our concerns and our perceived problems is not at the end of a gun. But it's far too easy to get a gun in this country.
And that's why I'm wondering out loud, if we had less guns and the availability to go, and I could tomorrow morning at 9:00, I pass several gun shops. I can go to any one of them.
Yep.
And, as long as I have cash money or, room on the credit card, they'll do a background check.
or not.
Or not. Well, usually around here in Ohio, though, they do a background check before they give you your weapon. But still, the whole idea that people tick us off to the point, and I've had people, and you probably have too, Robert, at your job, who just all the time. I mean, you go past her desk, you say, "Hi, Sally," and and I had several of those people. Now, at the job that I did with the county, there would be nothing that would cause me to go postal and go in there and shoot people. I mean, there was some rumors and some other stuff that came from people, and I never, ever, ever, that wasn't an option. But what was an option at 57 for me was to retire and go someplace else and do something else. And so I took that option. So
that is an intersection here, right there. That is one of the deeper concerns. And here's what I've noticed in all of these shootings. And again, I'm only 30 miles from the Boulder supermarket shooting of a month or so ago now, 6 weeks, or that is still a real thing here. And regardless of where, there is a pattern that emerges that has various intersections, one of which is the ease of access to guns. That's a given. It's just too easy. We got to do it. The other primary intersection is the vilification of mental health and mental illness, and starting back in the mid 80s, pushing mental health out of consciousness and closing down mental health facilities run by the state and pushing all of that off on nonprofits, NGOs, and other organizations that just were not equipped and still aren't.
And churches.
And churches. I saw one today that said every church should be required to be a homeless shelter every night. I'm like, that's a tough sell. Not every. I can agree that there is an opportunity there. I can agree that there is a place there for churches and other organizations to step in and support, but it should not just be cast upon the nonprofit world to solve and all of society's ills. This is the biggest social I'm going to sound controversial here for a second, but I think that one of the biggest social justice movements of the coming decade is American mental health. We're working on the other places. We're working on trans rights. We're working on rights, not the rights, but the recognition of the humanity of people of color. We're working on all the different aspects of social justice and social visionary. And one of those visions is a system that works to support Americans and humanity. Because I know this is a bigger problem than America, and we're dealing with the microscopic right now. We're dealing with what's in front of us right now. America, in our movement, in the New Thought movement, we have all the hearts, all the hands, all the resources necessary to affect real change on the mental health system, healthy mental connections and. I could go on and on, but we didn't plan for this part of the show tonight, did we? We were going to go in a different topic.
Well, and we're going to go there right now here. So, the shift hit the fan last week on the Science of Mind and Religious Science Facebook page, A Deeper Conversation. So, explain what happened and why did you put a 15-minute video out on the situation?
It's a great question, Michael. And I'm going to encourage anyone that might be a little more interested to make sure you've watched that video. Because my response isn't directed towards any one person or any one idea or any one ideology. It's pointing to a clarity of purpose. And the clarity of purpose is that specific group of about 5,000 people. Now, that may feel like a really big number to some folks. And if we compare that to other groups that I help to administer on Facebook, it hits about, well, the bigger group is pushing 18 or 18,500 people, 4,500 people. It's a smaller group. It's a large group in that there's a lot of people, but there's not a huge number of people that interact, that actually are active. There's a lot of people watching and learning and reading and absorbing the science of mind and religious science. The trick is that group was started with an intention to allow for deeper conversations, evolutionary conversations that it's tough to have in a traditional community setting, that it's tough to have in a traditional spiritual Sunday morning setting. You don't really walk up to your neighbor on a Sunday morning and want to dive into questions like racism and sexism and bigotry and the truth that there is a wing, a leftover. I don't even want to call it a wing because that gives it an energy of activity. There's a leftover consciousness of white supremacy in the midst of new thought.
Absolutely.
Surprise. Guess what, folks? If you live in America, there's a white supremacist philosophy that still exists in every vertical. I don't want to say every organization, because there are organizations that are working to heal that within themselves. There are organizations that are active in moving forward to say, hey, yes, we take responsibility. I had a conversation recently with another minister. What would it look like for the white folk in religious science, science of mind, new thought, centers for spiritual, whatever organization? What would it look like for us to make prayer and vibrational reparations to our brethren of color, to our ministers and practitioners of color? It doesn't have to be money, but there has to be a consciousness of acceptance and healing. We have been in, I didn't do it after a certain point in my life. Did I tell jokes when I was a kid that now could get me defrocked?
Absolutely.
I want to say that word again. That was fun. Defrocked.
Defrocked. Wow.
Defrocked. Yeah, I don't.
That sounds scary.
No, it sounds like fun. I don't know. No, maybe not. I know the origins of those words. I jest. I have some fun. But the point is that we've all done things. We've all experienced. We've all had a lived experience to get to where we are. However, there are those that want to hold on to those old belief patterns, and there are those that are willing to admit, hey, I mucked up. I didn't do that very well, and I'm willing to do better.
And one thing I noticed on the deeper conversations that we've had on various topics on that Facebook page, the one thing that I really want to encourage everyone to do is this, that we need to do it in love. We need to do it without calling names. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't use politics at all. I don't call people Trumpians or whatever. I don't do that. What I stick to is the issues that are happening now. And it reminded me of a story I wanted to tell quickly. One of my premarital counseling instructors, her name was Naomi Engel. Naomi was a minister in the Mennonite church. And Naomi was involved on a team of ministers who were having to make a decision about some of the Mennonite congregations that were open and affirming. And Naomi went ahead and said this. She says, you know, in the midst of all of this, she said, why do we have to be so nasty about this? Why can't we have a civil conversation about this issue? What about Christianity? Don't you understand in this situation? I was shocked at the news when I was looking up Naomi's name. She made a transition back in January of 2017 of brain cancer. But Naomi was one of those wonderful women who believed and knew that she had a ministry, even though that she was a woman. The other comment I want to make real quick is we in New Thought are extremely progressive. We're not a male-dominated organization. We may have been in the past, but we are not now. We have much integration of women, LGBTQ, Black women. We have a lot of it, and we have people in positions of power within our organization. So yes, in the past, it's been male-oriented, but now it's not. That we, again, we're coming into a balance. We're coming into an integration. And that, yes, there were a lot of things done in the past that were not. Yeah. But I really believe, and again, this goes out to a lot of the posts that I've seen there, that we have started to repent and to go the other direction. And I think that that's what's been going on there. But the conversation to go ahead and to name call, to go ahead and to call somebody a racist, see, that doesn't encourage any conversation with the other individual. So
well, I'm gonna push you there just a little bit, Michael, because I do believe there is a point where, and I do agree with you 100%. There's no reason to be calling names. And there comes a point when it becomes incredibly obvious that people are there to push an agenda and are not willing to consider anything else. And in those cases, I think it is incredibly important as leaders in consciousness to call out the racists when it is obvious that is their agenda and that is their and there is no bringing them back. It is imperative to call out the white supremacy when we see it, because people are watching. And that is the number one real complaint I hear. Not that there are people that believe that way. Not that we allow those people to sometimes raise their voice and shout out loud a little bit. Trust me, we have conversations with them and we remove those people if they're not willing to consider something different. However, people judge us as leaders more when we're silent on these issues. And we have a culture that teaches us not to call each other out in public. But if you have a problem with a minister, if a minister has a problem, we have a culture. Number one point of our conflict resolution culture is, if you have a problem with me, you come to me privately and personally and directly. You don't put it on social media and you don't broadcast it and you don't blast it all over Hell's Half Acre personally. So that in some ways is a great strength of ours. And that in some ways plays against our public perception, because there are those in the public that perceive us as whitewashing those issues, glossing over those issues, and refusing to address those issues, when what we're really doing is addressing them in private rather than in a public forum.
And that we continue to do that. We're all out of time. Thank you so very much.
What do you mean out of time? I own this thing. Well,
Well,
You got another half hour? We'll keep going.
My producer Diego he's going, listen, I have to go eat. I have to go feed Winston.
He's got to go feed Winston is what it really is. I'll tell you, I haven't met Winston, but I can already tell you, I do not want to get on his bad side. There's Winston. Yeah. I do not want to upset Winston.
Pigs do fly.
When we meet, he and I are going to have, but no, I'm going to come bearing treats. I'll tell you that.
Really?
Big bag of treats. Yeah.
Big bag of treats. Well, Reverend Robert Brzezinski, again, go on our website, ntmedia.org. Lots of programming, lots of things that we're working on here. And again, thank you for allowing me to be on the network. By the way, Robert will give me a few suggestions, but he does not censor anything that I say. So again, that's why we have the disclaimer on, because again, we want to have these kind of deeper conversations in a civil way, and saying that, listen, we need to evolve as New Thought and to be caring about other people. So Reverend Robert, we will see you later. Thank you so very much for being on the program.
It's great being with you, brother.
Thank you. All right. Well, we are out of time here. Just wanted to let you know again, if you'd like more information about our wonderful network here, all the programs, ntmedia.org. We'll give you a lot more information. Also, please, please, please consider donating to our wonderful network. We are supported by your contributions, and that you get the double blessing. The double blessing is you get the joy of giving, but also that you get the joy of taking this message to the world. And that's what we're doing here. We have the technology. So again, thank you so very much. We just really appreciate all the wonderful comments. I didn't get a chance to go through them, but again, thank you so very much. And until next week, or until Diego has me on the air again, this is Pastor Michael Mangus. Have a great week.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.